I change your bum life. You fight me, it's a celebration.
I would beat you.
When you sign to fight me, it's a celebration. You ring back home, you ring your wife. Baby, we done it. We're rich, baby. Conor McGregor made us rich. Break out the red panties. We're rich, baby.
Yo, welcome back to the 5th round. As always, your boy, Stephen Moustaris. And, man, I just wanted to sit here and kind of break down the UFC fight night that we just watched on ESPN over the weekend. Calvin Kattar and good old Josh Emmett took off together. So, first things first, I don't want to get too crazy into the main event or anything yet, but one thing I definitely did want to talk about, I think, was the second fight of the night, which was Phil Hawes versus good old Deron Winn, who I think for a lot of people know that's Daniel Cormier's guy. So I'm pretty sure it's like assistant coach for wrestling in high school, because we all know DC coaches high school wrestling. So after the fight, you got Phil Hawes, yelling over at DC like, yeah, this is why you picked that fight, eat your words type shit. It was a little worse than that, but just pretty much yelling at DC because from what I'm picking up, from everybody's picking up, it seems like Phil thinks that DC, picked the fight for Deron Winn because he might have thought it was easy, and clearly, Phil Hawes feeling a certain way. DC comes up to him all dressed up and fat, out of shape. DC, going, hey, be respectful, watch your mouth. Like, I didn't pick this fight. I don't pick fights, and I could kind of see where Phil Hawes is coming from, and because let's be real here. I know DC isn't the matchmaker and everything, but the man's definitely in bed with the UFC, and just as somebody who's a coach like him and likes to really like give direction to people and always help out and just teach left and right, I feel like definitely, and I don't know him personally, but I know Deron Winn and DC seem like really good friends, and I'm sure it's natural. I feel like any of us would watch out for one of our guys or one of our friends and say we're decorated like DC, we're heavyweight champion, light heavyweight champion, double champ, just Hall of Famer, been in amazing fights, won I don't know how many fights out there, damn near made the Olympic team, just all around just a decorated fighter, one of the more decorated fighters we've ever seen. So there's no way that I won't believe, I'm totally believing that, maybe DC was in the war room with Deron Winn, was like, hey, let's figure out the next fight for you. And he's probably like, hey, look, like Phil Hawes, tough guy, don't get me wrong, very tough guy in the first couple minutes, but we've seen it where he gets a little exhausted after that first round, kind of starts, fighting a little lazier. We've seen him how many times now in the UFC, especially UFC outside, probably even happened too a couple times where, he's looking so good in the first couple minutes, and then, all of a sudden he either gets gassed a little bit or he just starts taking the guy lightly, and then bam, next thing you know, Phil Hawes is getting knocked out or something. So, I could totally see where DC's coming from. Probably like, hey, Deron, look, first couple minutes aren't going to look good for you. You're starting to lose weight. He's finally taking it serious, so he's coming down, and, he's going to fight a bigger opponent, and you're probably going to get picked up a little bit, pieced up a little bit in the first couple of minutes, and then after he gets gassed, we're just gonna ride the wrestling, is what I'm guessing. But after we watched it, Phil Hawes just absolutely dominates Deron Winn, fucking left and right, always hitting him with fucking elbows. It was probably, we've seen some crazy finishes with elbows. Just off the top of the head, the Calvin Kattar nasty fucking elbow the forearm elbow that he hit with Jeremy Stevens, I thought that was vicious. Like, you see some of these nasty ones, spinning back fist or spinning elbows. You see a couple of them, but for the most part, to see somebody just use them like a jab in the straight, and probably land over 40 of them. I didn't count, but it was vicious, dude. Vicious. 3 rounds of that just getting fucking destroyed. And if I was Phil Hawes, I'd feel away too. It's like, hey man, look, I'm here. I guess I wouldn't be talking that much shit to DC because DC's not a current fighter anymore and everything, but he's definitely, feeling a certain way, because I'm sure in Phil Hawes's, mindset, he's probably like, man, this fight right now is way too easy for me. I want to fight better people. I want to get, more notoriety and everything. So, I don't see a problem with him yelling at DC. I like how DC DC does this thing where if you see his hand pointing forward to people, and it's not like you've seen it against Jake Paul when I think at UFC, was it 269 or something like that, where he was in the stands and they were yelling back and forth. And I don't know, DC does this thing where he gets real serious and really sun you, really dad you up. So I don't know, I'm not mad at either of them. I like it. This is the fight game, it's not always being super nice and respectful. So I wasn't that mad at Phil Hawes for doing it. If anything, I kind of wish he would have wrote it a little bit more and not apologize and said, like, oh, DC, don't beat my ass. But, you're just in the heat of the fight night. I couldn't imagine how pissed or whatever it would be. The adrenaline's going. UFC Austin was fucking ridiculous. Texas was going crazy. I mean, good Lord, I think out of the 13 fights that night, because the Daniel Cerrone, Joe Lauzon one was canceled again, but without that fight, I mean, there's 13 fights, and I think it was 8 finishes, 7 knockouts, 1 submission, which was pretty much a knockout. And then Kevin Holland just did his thing with the finish. But, man, I don't know. All around, thought it was an amazing fight card, and it was very stacked. I mean, goddamn, Joaquin Buckley. I know Kyle Dawkins lost in the first fight of the night, but he's on there. Phil Hawes is on there. Kevin Holland, could have been Joe Lauzon. There's all these fighters that was just a really nice fight night. It's one of the better fight nights we're going to have. But, sometimes I want to see more of this. I want to see fighters be a little more outspoken. I don't like it when it's fake and everything. Clearly, everybody's trying to be the next Conor or whoever, the Dominic Cruz with the shit talking and everything. I get that. But, sometimes I like to see a little bit more, especially if it's legitimate. Like if Phil Hawes felt like, he felt like he was upset about it. Felt like, hey, DC, you're overlooking me. Which makes sense. I mean, DC has a huge word to, voice in the UFC, so not mad at Phil for doing it. He could have done it maybe a little more respectful, maybe outside of the camera, but still, if it's raw emotion, I'm never mad at it. So I thought it was cool. Kind of thought it'd been real funny if DC would have took him down in the suit, but hey, whatever. But this has been the 5th round. As always, your boy Stephen Moustaris, and hope you guys have a good one.